This is a brief introduction to Universal Design for Learning. Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, is defined as a set of principles for curriculum development that give all individuals equal opportunities to learn. Librarians can and should use UDL principles to design and deliver online instruction that can be understood by all learners. In this mini-lecture, I'll introduce you to the concept of UDL, but you'll be revisiting UDL again in future modules, such as the module devoted entirely to the topic of diversity. Understanding UDL is important in both online and face-to-face learning environments and instruction. There are several principles that make up UDL, and each of them can help librarians to provide a variety of options to students when planning lessons. I want you to notice that the word multiple comes up in each principle. Principle 1, provide multiple means of representation. Principle 2, provide multiple means of action and expression. Principle 3, provide multiple means of engagement. Let's take a look at each one of these principles. Principle 1 involves the online instructor providing multiple means of representing the content and materials you deliver to your learners, whether they are adult learners or children. We generally plan lessons for whole groups of learners, but each individual has a way in which he or she learns best. Remember we talked about learning styles earlier in this week's module? Well, they come into play here too. So it's important that you incorporate a variety of presentation methods in order to reach all of your learners. How do you do this? One thing to keep in mind is flexibility. Try to be flexible in your presentation techniques so that you include all learners. For example, instead of presenting content primarily or only in print form, try adding an audio component for students who prefer to receive information in an audio context. Include visuals for those who do best with visual representations. Include active learning strategies for those kinesthetic learners who need to be moving and active. And by the way, active learning doesn't just relate to physical activity, but also includes activating students' deeper thinking about content. We'll be talking more about active learning strategies in the weeks and modules to come throughout the D4L series. So in planning lessons, don't be rigid, be flexible so that you engage all the senses of a learner. Think multimodal. That simply means you present learning through multiple modes such as audio, video, gaming, and a myriad other ways that online learning environments allow us to do. By the end of the D4L series of modules, you will be able to create multimodal learning environments that stimulate all the senses of your learners. Principle 2. Provide multiple means of action and expression. This second UDL principle involves allowing students to demonstrate that they have learned what you've intended for them to learn. That doesn't always have to be a test or a written assignment. Again, think multimodal. When we talk about assessing learning in week 4 of this foundation module, you'll discover other creative ways to assess learning. When you think of a student's abilities and preferred learning style, you'll be able to design ways in which he or she can express learning that best suits their unique strengths and abilities. Some may love sharing their learning through creating a video. Others may want to create a game. Some may actually prefer writing the report. So getting to know your learners, which we'll talk more about next week, will be important. The third and final UDL principle is to provide multiple means of engagement. Engagement refers to how students participate in the lesson you're teaching and the ways they are motivated to learn. My own research has looked at learning motivation, including their perceived competence and autonomy. And so the topic of motivation is very important to me personally. Keeping and sustaining student interest in the learning materials and making the learning relevant are two aspects of motivation and motivational design. Another is providing opportunities for students to build confidence. So we'll be talking more about that too. Motivation plays a critical role in learning. In your role, you'll help students push through frustrations when the challenge level is high because you want them to sustain that effort in order to be successful. And effort is a measure of motivation. Providing options is important. Perhaps you allow students to solve a problem as a team. Or for a K-12 child with a particular disability, you might design a task that you know they can successfully complete. Those are the three broad principles that make up universal design for learning. Using UDL principles is how librarians can reach all their online learners, and it will take some practice to learn how to incorporate these principles into your lessons on a regular basis. And that's why we will revisit UDL again in other modules, and you will have opportunities to practice. And as you do practice and learn more about UDL and the strategies for incorporating UDL, you'll become more confident about your own ability to construct online learning environments that make learning enjoyable for all your learners, not just those with disabilities, but all learners. And that's perhaps why it's referred to as universal design for learning.